Welcome back to Quest for Truth. As we look at the 11th chapter of Ecclesiastes, we see the uncertainties of life. Solomon tells us that we do not have security in what will happen tomorrow. Verses 1 through 5 open, "Cast your bread on the surface of the waters, for you will find it after many days. Divide your portion to 7 or even to 8, for you do not know what misfortune may occur on the earth. If the clouds are full, they pour out rain upon the earth. And whether a tree falls towards the south or towards the north, wherever the tree falls, there it lies. He who watches the wind will not sow, and he who looks at the clouds will not reap. Just as you do not know the path of the wind, and how bones are formed in the womb of the pregnant woman, so you do not know the activity of God who makes all things." Solomon here tells us that in order to be successful, we must make wise investments. Diversified investments protect against unforeseen circumstances. The metaphors of the rain and falling trees help us to understand that there is so much out of our control. However, if we stand and watch the wind and clouds, we will never do what needs to be done. But this whole idea of making wise investments is meant for so much more than just financial prosperity. The overall theme of this passage is of life in its totality, and so we must relate this notion to life. Many investments are made throughout life. Time is a huge investment that we can make. Our time can be used to build others up, to encourage them, to invest in the very lives of others. From that, we see their growth, but also it benefits us the same way in that an encouragement in our time of need. Another investment, the most important one, is faith. In all the uncertainty of this world, our faith keeps us through the ups and downs. And one day, the faith that we sow today will be reaped in heaven, and ultimately in our eternal reign and relationship with God. Our uncertainty can cause us to fear and to stop truly believing and relying on God, but it is God who knows all things. The only thing in this world that is secure is faith in God, because only He knows the outcome of all things, and only He has the power to change it. Verse 6 then continues, "Sow your seed in the morning, and do not be idle in the evening, for you do not know whether morning or evening sowing will succeed, or whether both of them alike will be good." This verse calls to mind two New Testament passages. In the first, Jesus teaches his disciples of a man who went out and sowed seeds. Some seeds fell by the road and was ate by birds. Some fell on rocky ground and were scorched by the sun. Others were choked among thorns. Then there was the seed that fell on the good soil, producing a harvest. The thing is that Jesus doesn't blame the sower for the success or failure of the harvest. It's based on the soil. The sower is faithful to sow the seed among all the soil, but the soil itself holds the keys to successful growth. In the same way, later on, Paul urges Timothy to preach the gospel in season and out of season. And that's the idea here. It's our job to tell people the truth of the gospel. That's all we can do. The rest is up to the condition of their hearts and the work of the Holy Spirit. That takes away a huge tension, doesn't it? Sometimes we can make it a big thing, as if it's all on us, but we just have a small part of the process. When Israel demanded a king, God reminded Samuel that they were rejecting God and not Samuel. Another person's rejection of God is not on us, because our job is not to change their minds, only to tell them the gospel. Verses 7 through 8 say, "The light is pleasant and is good for the eyes to see the sun. Indeed, if a man should live many years, let him rejoice in them all, and let him remember the days of darkness, for they will be many. Everything that is to come will be futility. With light and darkness, Solomon contrasts the good times from the bad times. Solomon calls us to rejoice in both the good and the bad and make the most out of it, because life is short and death soon follows. We are to enjoy the totality of the life that we have, that God has given us here on earth. Anything less is to waste the time that He's given us. It's absolutely correct that things aren't the way that they're supposed to be, but even so, God is with us. We are not to wait until we get to heaven to rejoice, but we are called to enjoy this life and life to its fullest. Verses 9 through 10 continue. Rejoice, young man, during your childhood, and let your heart be pleasant during the days of young manhood, and follow the impulses of your heart and the desires of your eyes. Yet know that God will bring you to judgment for all things. So remove grief and anger from your heart, and put away pain from your body, because childhood and the prime of life are fleeting. There's a line we are to follow between following God and having fun. Some, like the Puritans, have removed all fun from life and focus only on following God, while others live their lives free from God until judgment. Solomon says we should have fun in this life, but to remember that as children of God, we must keep away from sinful things. He says that judgment is the great motivator here, not because we are to fear God's wrath, but because as His children, we should seek to avoid the things that He deems worthy of judgment. And it's for our good that we avoid them, because they're harmful to us, but more it's a step in obedience to our Father to walk according to His ways. Our time on this earth is not secure. We are promised hardship, but Solomon tells us to enjoy every day that God has given us here. Even in the chaos of life, God knows the way. All we have to do is follow Him, not in a dull existence, but embracing the fun times we have until we stand before Him. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of our series in Ecclesiastes. I hope it's been both useful and encouraging to you on your walk with Christ. And I hope to see you again next week here on Quest for Truth as we conclude our series with the final chapter of Ecclesiastes. See you then.